Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sam Zagar. I'm going to give you a couple of tips for talking to your clients about gates. I recently taught a class on gates. It was for my Welcome to Human Design course. There was something very specific I wanted to be able to walk my students through when teaching them about gates. And it wasn't the names of the gates. It wasn't the generalized information about each gate. What I wanted to give my students was an understanding of how to create a framework for a gate. Because when you understand the framework, you really understand what that gate's purpose is without actually having to look up the definition of the gate. I'm going to give you some pointers for how to describe gates, either when you're honestly for yourself, when you're reading your own body graph, or for clients, or even if you're going to read for friends, whatever. But the point is, when you read someone's body graph to them, you don't want to just give them a bunch of words and information. You want to give them the right words and information that are going to help them understand what you're trying to say. And also, it needs to lay out how they're going to live their design, how they're going to play with the information. We don't want people to just memorize information. We want people to actually be able to understand it. I'm going to use my own body graph as a very specific example just because it's the easiest one for me. If you describe my sun gate, gate 5, 5.3, my personality sun gate, because it's a personality gate, there should be some resonance to it. My mind is consciously going to identify to some extent with this gate. But not really. Why not? You know, if you just described gate 5 to me and you told me that that's a very big part of who I am, I might believe you. I might be like, yeah, kind of resonates. But if you describe the framework of gate 5 to me, I'm going to go, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's definitely me. So let me give you a few things to identify when you're looking at gates in somebody's chart. The very first question is this gate active or dormant? What's the difference between an active gate and a dormant gate? An active gate lives in a defined center, which means that the center looks like it's been colored in. It's not clear or white. Whereas if it's a dormant gate, it's a gate that is in an undefined center. The difference here is defined centers have kind of consistent, fixed aspects, whereas undefined centers, they're unpredictable depending on the conditioning they're experiencing, depending on the awareness of the person who has them. So for my gate 5 is in an undefined sacral center. I'm a projector, so my sacral center is definitely going to be undefined, which means I have a hanging gate 5. Now, I already identified that it's in my personality. So right off the bat, I know that I have a dormant gate 5 that belongs to my personality. Now, if it belongs to the personality, that means it's conscious. Things that are on the black side of the chart, the personality side, they are conscious. They are associated with the passenger who's thinking about this ride or incarnation that it's on. If something is unconscious, it's going to belong in the red or design side of the body graph. If something is unconscious, it bypasses the mind. It's much more physical, much more body-based. The passenger is ultimately unaware of this part of you. So if you're trying to describe a gate that you see in red and you go, that doesn't really resonate, it's not really supposed to. And that can really help you explain something to someone, because a lot of the time you're going to explain something where a person goes, I don't know if that's me or not. Okay, so what else are we looking at? Is it active or dormant? Is it in a defined center or an undefined center? The next we're going to look at, is this a hanging gate? Or is it a part of a channel? A hanging gate means that it's sticking out of the center, but it can't make it to the other side of the channel. It can't make it to the center at the end of the road. Ultimately, it's just like one little arm dangling out. When it's one little arm dangling out, it's a hanging gate. When it's able to connect all the way to another center and create a channel in between, that gate is now a part of a channel. A huge difference when you have either a hanging gate or a gate that's part of a channel is a gate that's part of a channel creates a life force energy, whereas a gate that is like hanging is really looking for someone else to connect to, which means there are more not self tendencies here because of the electromagnetic, you have what I am missing kind of connection that draws us to the other. Now, if you know me, you know this is one of my favorite parts about human design, the biology. Without the biological correlations that run throughout the body graph, I don't know if I ever would have believed this system. I need things that are a little bit more concrete, tactile, logical. I'm very splenic. It really, really helps me to understand this system more when I see it through the actual biology of the body. There's just something about being able to explain the biology to somebody that makes things feel real, concrete, valid, testable. You know, it's like the scientific method. I love the scientific method, and I love that biology is such a part of human design. I truly would not have been interested in this system if it was, you know, astrology and psychology based. I'm not that interested in thinking that much. A lot of the times I want to feel things, and I want to feel things very physically in order to validate them. When we're looking at the body graph, when we're looking at not only the gates, but also the centers, you're seeing biological correlations. Now, the center will be like an overarching theme, such as the spleen being about immunity, but each specific gate within the spleen is going to have a more specific biological correlation. And so when you're trying to describe something to somebody, a lot of the times they're trying to relate to it from the mind. But that's not the relatable point. A lot of the times it's the biology. For example, using my own design again, I'm only the channel of surrender. That's made with gates 44 and 26. Now, gate 44 has a biological correlation of being able to regulate temperature within the body. There's a hot-cold fluctuation. There's a reptilian component to this. As someone who is the channel of the immune system with a very, very heavy biological attachment to temperature regulation, one of the things that is fascinating to me is how much my own temperature changes throughout the day based on the needs of my immune system. I totally relate to either being absolutely cold-blooded or way too hot and fiery. You know, my channel of surrender is entirely unconscious. This is a body-based channel. And so does my mind really identify with the fact that I'm a splenic ego being? No, honestly, that part of me consistently kind of surprises me. But my body knows that. And when you talk about the biological correlations of my channel and the gates that make my channel, that feels like me. I feel seen. I feel validated. I'm like, yeah, that is my physical lived experience. So, in a little bit of a summary, when you're looking at your own gates, when you're looking at your client's gates, I don't want you to just say, like, this is the gate number, this is the name of it, here's a very basic synopsis of it, because the person that you're talking to is going to be left wanting more, for sure. And one of the ways that you can give them more, or a couple of the ways that you can give them more, is you can let them know, is it active or dormant? Is it hanging? Is it part of a channel? Is it conscious? Is it unconscious? What are the biological correlations? And when you can provide that level of information to somebody, they're going to get it differently. Okay. That was whatever that was. That was enjoyable. We'll see you next time.